trying to work on a timeline for my appointment. Okay, so this is what happened. This is helping me. Okay. How did it start? Okay. Saw the tweet from Channel 2 or something that the shelter had opened. At 10 p.m. And this was my neighborhood shelter. So when the hurricane arrived, if anything happened, that's where we were supposed to go for safety. Like that was our evacuation zone. So put together a bag of donations, 2 bags. Okay. I tweet the news asking what they needed, which I guess happened before the donations. Okay, so make a note of that happened first. Okay, so by, okay, that was at 10. By 11, taking bags. So then we walk in. To the shelter. The registration table. Offer donations. And they say we're not accepting donations. I respond, who is going to feed? Reply, they brought their own food. My response, most are homeless. They reply, we are not accepting donations. I have a policy of not imposing my will. I offer people choices and then watch how they choose. So nurse says, or points out rather, to the dark gym. God, this is freaking impossible. Yeah, and I'm leaving out a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna have to tell a story and not take notes, and then write the notes. So we got the notification of our evac zone. It was opening at 10 o'clock. So as soon as the news tweeted out a picture of all those people, I put together 2 huge bags of donations. I asked my friend to escort me over because I couldn't carry all of it and it was kind of dark and late. So when we get to the gymnasium at the school, there's people sitting outside, just at the picnic tables or the, whatever they were, right in front of the gymnasium. So there was no one waiting in line or anything, like everyone had already been registered. And we walk in and I offer the donations and they say, we're not accepting donations. And I said, well, who's going to feed these people? And they said they brought their own food. And I was like, but most of them are homeless. Like they don't really have access to resources. And they're like, well, we're not accepting donations. And I was like, well, that's actually really irresponsible. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. And so they're like, well, we're not accepting. And I'm like, okay. And the nurse points out that people are sleeping in the back. Like it's the front of the gym, like the entrance where like the trophies and stuff are or whatever. They have these tables set up. And then the inside the gymnasium part where you play basketball is they have cots set up and people are asleep and it's already turned off. The lights are kind of off and so I didn't see them. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I even dropped my volume down to more of a whisper because my voice can carry. And this guy, the moody guy, just kept with the, we're not taking donations, we're not taking donations. And I'm like, okay. And so I exit the door and I turn around to snap a photo and he's like right in front of me. And so I snapped the photo because honestly I was just going to report to the Red Cross, like logistically and whatnot, they're running a really shitty operation. So then as I'm walking out, people kind of start surrounding me. And I've done when people start to, I just use my phone, the video. That's like a self-defense thing for me. And so I'm, snapping the photos of these people who are kind of like starting to invade my space, thinking like, one, I didn't know if they were going about their own jobs, or two, why is everybody like around me? There were like 3 or 4 people around me. And Mr. Moody was kind of like following me around. And I exited, turned around to snap a photo, and he was like right in front of me or whatever. So I went further out to the thing. I snapped a couple of photos of like whoever was getting close to me. I was just snapping and just holding my phone like in front of my chest. And that's when I was standing out front and I turned around so I could get a picture of the name of the facility. I was literally standing where the news teams had been standing. And I said, I'm going to tweet this out, or I'm going to, tweet this to the news organization that like I had been talking to. And that's when somebody grabbed me from behind like this and spun me to the left and like picked me up off my feet a little and pushed me. And I turned around and it was that Moody guy. And I said in my strictest tone, do not ever touch me again. And then I go into this lecture about how that's inappropriate. And that's when this police officer walks up. And I said, I've just been assaulted. And he said, no, you weren't. And in the back of my head, I'm like, actually, I was. And you're not a judge. So your job, your role is to not say that. Your role is to just take police reports. So he said, no, you weren't. And I'm like, yes, I was. I want to file a police report. And he tries to dismiss me again. And so I switch to video. And I start to film the interaction because Film the Police is a really big campaign. And when you are interacting with a police officer, you have to have a record. Because, well, whatever. So I start to film. I ask him his name and his badge number. And I just keep saying, well, what's the definition of assault? Like, and he couldn't answer. And then he asked the guy who I was accusing of assault to instruct me to leave. And so the guy who just grabbed me and pushed me is the person the cop is listening to tell me to leave. And I'm like, I'm trying to file a police report against this person. And I'm trying to figure out, is it battery? Like, what's the classification? But I'm in, like, shock at this point. And all I could say is, well, what's the definition of assault? What's the definition? Is it battery? There's classifications. You know, people can't just walk up and grab people. So I said to him, do you know the definition? Honestly thinking that dude was going to go to his car and get his policy book. No, he didn't. He grabbed my left arm, threw my phone down, spun me around behind a pillar, grabbed me behind the neck, and I figured this out through the injuries because I wasn't. Shredded my whole left side. Used extremely excessive force. Violated my rights and arrested me. I can move my arm now. I had to go through the first trial. They charged me with disturbing the peace. They literally said I was disturbing the peace for screaming assault. And then for screaming, stop choking me. The prosecutor asked Mr. Moody if he gave me consent to yell assault. And Mr. Moody said no. I went to the hospital after I was released. Well, first I went home and took photos and a shower and cried a lot. And the next morning I went to the emergency room. I asked the doctor to call the police because I wanted to try to file another report, the first report. The police came, he took my statement, he took photos, but he never filed them. I had to go to the police a third time when I could finally build the courage because it's become PTSD for me all the way. I was able to finally file a report, and Mr. Moody was assigned